Hello, this is Kathy from Kathy's Crochet Closet, and today we're going to be working on a new pattern, the Wavy Dot Beanie. Now the beanie starts with a ribbed band, and I'm not going to be showing you that part here, but once you make your rib band and you join those two ends together, then you'll start the body of the hat, and the body of the hat starts with a round of double crochet. So in my example, you're just seeing double crochet worked into a chain, but on your hat, you'll have your ribbed band here and then the double crochet worked into the side of that ribbed band. So I'm going to go ahead now and start round 2 of the body of the hat, and it starts with a chain 3, and that in this pattern does count as a double crochet. The next thing you're going to do is a front post stitch around the same stitch below. So where we have our chain 3 right below it, we are also using that stitch to do our post stitch. Then you're going to skip a stitch and do a double crochet in the next. Skip a stitch, post stitch around the next. And then double crochet into the top of that same stitch where you just did the post stitch. This little pattern of stitches we just completed is going to continue all the way around the band. So let's do another set. Starts with a double crochet, then a post stitch around the same stitch below, skip a stitch, double crochet into the next, skip a stitch, post stitch around the next, and then double crochet in the top of that same stitch. So now we've got 2 sets of that little pattern repeat, and I'm going to go ahead and continue all the way around the band, and I'll meet you when I get to the end. So I just completed round 2, and I'm getting ready to join to the first stitch of the round, which was our chain 3. And now the instructions tell us to turn. So some hats are made without turning, but many of my designs use a turn at the end of the round for a couple reasons. One, it makes a better looking, straighter seam. And in the case of this hat, where we're going to be doing some puff stitches, stitches like puffs and clusters and bobbles need to be done from the wrong side so that they can stick out to the right side. So that's why we're turning in this hat. So we're going to go ahead and turn, and now we're working from the wrong side of our beanie, and we're on round 3. So we're chaining 3, counts as a double crochet, and it says puff stitch between the stitch just made and the next stitch. So here's the stitch that we just made, this chain 3, and here's our second stitch of the round. You're going to do your puff stitch in between. So a puff stitch starts with a yarn over, you insert your hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, insert in the same spot, pull up a loop, and then a third time yarn over, insert, pull up a loop, and then you pull through all 7 loops on your hook, and there's our puff. Next we're going to double crochet into the next stitch. Now it says to do a back post double crochet around the front post stitch below. Well, I'll turn it so you can see it. There's our front post stitch. It's on the back of our work right now because we're working on the wrong side. So I'm going to go ahead and insert underneath that post stitch and do my back post double crochet. And then we're skipping a stitch and we're doing a back post stitch underneath the next post stitch below. All right, let's do that whole set of stitches again. So we're going to be doing a double crochet in the first, then a puff stitch in between these 2 stitches, double crochet in the next, and now we have our 2 back post stitches. Here's one of them around that front post below. We're skipping a stitch and doing another back post stitch. I'm going to turn it so you can see what it looks like from the front, And you'll see that we've got these nice angles of post stitches working up around the puff stitches that are in between them. Looks pretty cool. So I'm at the end of round 3, and I'm going to go ahead and do my joining stitch to the first stitch of the round. And now we get to turn. And now is where we get to see the pretty design starting to come forward a little bit. We've got our nice angles of post stitches, and then we have puff stitches sticking out in between. To start round 4, there's a chain 1. And now to get us in the right spot for the rest of the round, it calls for a slip stitch in the next 2 stitches. So here's one, and here's another. Now we are in the right spot to do the stitches on the rest of this round. A chain 3, a front post double crochet around the same stitch below, happens to be another post stitch, skip a stitch, do a double crochet in the next, skip a stitch, and front post double crochet around the next, and then a double crochet in the top of that stitch. Now that should have sounded familiar because those 5 stitches we just did are the same pattern of stitches that we used in round 2. So once you've completed round 2 and 3, you really have done all of the stitches in this hat. The only change in round 4 is that we started with 2 slip stitches. If you do the pattern as written, you're going to end up with a slouchy hat about 9.5 to 10 inches tall. If you would rather have a more fitted beanie, when you get to rounds 5 through 14, you're just going to be repeating rounds 3 and 4 5 times for the slouchy one. If you would rather have it more fitted, then just do that repeat 4 times. And then you'll end up with a shorter hat. It'll be closer to the top of your head. Okay, well, I hope you enjoy making the Wavy Dot Beanie. See you next time.